All right, all right, all right. Here we go. Here we go. Welcome to the Writers Game podcast. Welcome to our live show. I have somebody special coming on today. I have somebody special coming on to talk to you guys. And the goal of this podcast, the goal of this show is to help you magnify your voice and monetize your message. So I know you guys are probably tired of hearing from me all the time, and I've been doing trainings and live streams and all these different things. But now it's time to hear from an expert, an author, a father, somebody that is truly shifting the minds and the hearts of people in the church, in the school system, in the community. Somebody that has taken their voice, taken their experiences, and truly empowering, educating, and equipping individuals through his resources and through his presence to be able to change lives on a daily basis. YP, how you doing, brother?
Man, I don't even know what you're talking about, man. But I'm great, bro. I can't complain. And thank you for the opportunity, man. And love what you're doing. I always give it back to you, brother. You are amazing. I always call you my mentor. But I appreciate it, man. But I'm great, man. It's a great day.
Awesome, awesome. I love to hear. So before we get started and get into the weeds of the conversation, could you introduce yourself and tell us how you're changing lives and what you do?
Okay, man. My name is YP Thomas, like you said. I'm originally from Statesville, North Carolina. Went to Winston Salem State on a football scholarship and graduated from there. And after that, I started to work with youth. Been working with troubled youth for over about close to about 18 to 17 years now. Um, After my career with youth, I started working with a program called Piedmont Mediation. And I was over all the high schools and middle schools in Iredell County doing conflict resolution, anger management, and juvenile court mediations also. Moved from that industry and went to the corporate world and started in working in the mortgage industry. And then recently in 2022, I left the mortgage industry to chase a new call and a new purpose. And I started teaching high school math. Uh, Between all that, man, I started a company in 2017 called YP Motivation, standing for Your Power Motivations, where we help people recognize the power they have to achieve and make any dream they have come true and use that newfound power to help and inspire others. So I have always been in the motivational world, in the self-development, life coaching world, in that. And then I wrote a book in 2017 also called Go Be Great, the 14 Principles to Increase Your Greatness. Basic principles that I used to encourage me to quit my job and go into the full-time entrepreneur mindset at that time. Even though I picked up jobs afterwards, it was the driving force for me to be able to motivate myself to chase that dream and chase that goal. So I use those principles now in my life coaching when I coach my clients or coaching for empowerment or business coaching also, just to motivate and inspire and encourage people to not be afraid of the tasks in front of them and really chase fulfillment. So one thing to chase a dream and it's another thing to chase fulfillment. Does that dream bring you fulfillment? If it doesn't, then you're going to have another dream because you're not going to be fulfilled with the dream that you're trying to capture. So that's something I preach too. And then, and I got with this crazy talented guy named Cal King, and he started to spark new endeavors in my heart, man. So came up with a course called Face. Talks about facing adversity and the steps how to face trauma and adversity. And that speaks exactly to what you said of taking your story and being able to use it and not only use it, but monetize it also. So I developed that theory after what Cal, was one of the worst years of my life in 2021. And I went through a year of trauma and tragedy. And I got through and I got to the other side of that. So the way I help inspire people now and help change lives now, I'm able to show people how to face adversity, how to face trauma, and not only how to face it, but how to get over it and get to the triumphant part of facing tragedy and facing trauma. So that's what I do. Certified life coach has been doing that for about 4.5 years now. I'm working on my second and third book right now with the renowned Cow King and the Writer's Game.
For sure.
So, man, that's what I do, and that's what I love to do. That's my passion, my call is inspiration, motivation, and encouragement.
I love it. I love it. Absolutely love it. And there's so much that was unpacked in that introduction. But I want to start with this. So the overall title of this conversation today is Greatness in the Face of Adversity.
Mm,
In your life, you've experienced so much adversity, and as an
yeah,
author, and you've used your story
yeah.
in Go Be Great, but as well as the two books that you're writing right now and getting ready to launch this year. What is this face model that you've created, and how can that help people
Yeah.
really battle and overcome adversity when they're faced with it?
Oh man, I think we talk about it all the time. Where we say you got to face the problems, you got to face the adversity, you got to face confrontation or conflict. So in this instance, with the adversity and the trauma that I had to face, just a little bit background. In 2021, my 2021 was the worst year ever. So I started off with COVID, and then a beautiful thing happened, and my youngest son was born on today. It's his birthday, as a matter of fact. He's 2. Shout out to Brendan. I love you, buddy. So he turned 2, and 2 weeks after that, man, my marriage flipped upside down. And we started the separation and divorce process, and I moved out in February. My
Mm,
grandfather passes in the end of February. He's the
mm,
pillar and the matriarch of the Thomas family of ministers and bishops in the church world. So there was a big blow. As I bouncing back and recovering from that, and also recovering from this new life of not being with my kids and my wife and my family being dismantled and no longer together. You know the story, Kyle. I went to sleep on May the 4th and just fine, and woke up May the 5th and I couldn't talk. Long story short,
Wait,
guys, I had a
you couldn't talk.
long story short, guys, I had a stroke in my sleep.
Wow.
And a blood clot got to my brain, and it affected my expression. So I literally could not talk. I couldn't say words. I couldn't say letters. I couldn't say colors. I couldn't say my son's names. I couldn't talk at all. It was baby mumble. I went through that season, man. I was out of work for 7 months. You're talking about, you deal with a divorce or a separation. At the time we have having divorce, but a separation. So I'm out the house. I'm not living with my family. I have this stroke. Then I'm out of work for 6 months, 7 months. I have the stroke, so I can't make money because everything I do to make money comes from my voice. My job was on the as a sales person for mortgages, so I had people get mortgages and refinance their homes. I was a seller. That was my job. So I used my voice to make money in my professional space. In my personal career space and what I do, my passion, my love, but I'm a motivational speaker. I'm a life coach. I talk for a living. That's how I make my money. So that was completely stripped away. I'm just going to speak on that because there is a back half of that story, but let's go there from the face theory, right? So facing adversity or facing trauma, because we all take our adulthood and process our childhood. And it's
Mm,
amazing how that happens, right? Things we don't unpack until we become adults, or things we don't heal from, or uncover or peel the layers back up until we become older and we have these decisions or these agreements that we've made and agreed to that affect the life that we live as an adult, and we try to paper trail it and say, where the hell did that come from, right?
exactly.
Why do I have that moral compass? Why do I believe this is okay? Why do I struggle with this area, right? So the face model is a 4-point model, and it's a FACE, and there's forgiveness, accountability, counsel, and evaluation. So what I take my clients through, the first part we go through is the forgiveness. Anything that happened to you from trauma, you have to first forgive. Let me back up a second. all the moral compasses and all the agreements or the way you live your life, your morals, your integrity, your character, the way they were built was all from some kind of adversity or some kind of trauma that happened in your life. You agreed to never let a man talk to you that way because you saw how your dad talked to your mom. You agreed to never let somebody get close to you because your first relationship that you were truly in love with, she cheated on you, right? So you don't let anybody get close to you. For me, I was molested but from the time I was about 9 or 10 until I was about 12 years old. So I didn't let people get close to me, or I didn't open up enough to certain people and kept stuff closed in because I kept that bottled up for 22 years of my life.
Wow.
So I developed a habit of holding stuff in at an early age, right? So you have to face it. So first you have to forgive. You got to forgive the people that hurt you, or the person that hurt you, or whoever it is that hurt you and degraded you, or whatever the situation, your mom, your dad, cousins, aunties, uncles, or people in general. You have to forgive them. You have to empty that out of your heart. Then you have to forgive yourself for allowing that situation to either hurt you, or for allowing yourself to believe that you are what happened to you, right? You have to forgive yourself for taking on those assumptions and those agreements that are lies about your life. So you have to forgive the people that hurt you, and then you have to forgive yourself for hurting yourself or allowing that situation to happen. So that's the first step, because without forgiveness, everything else is null and void. Because without forgiveness, you can't progress and move forward. Unforgiveness is me drinking the poison, but waiting for you to die, right? So you can't move forward with that. Then the next step is accountability. And you have to take accountability for what happened. Now, in certain situations, and when I go with what depends on what happened and what trauma they're using. Because sometimes we blame ourselves for the trauma that happened to us when we are totally lifeless in it. We had no, we had no issue to it. I was molested. That was a sick individual that did that to me. I can't blame myself, right? Because there's no way. I had no hope and no help in that situation. But I still have to take accountability for my actions of what I did based on what happened to me, right? And you have to take accountability for what you did. Now, there's a whole nother level that you got to dig deep into, because it's one thing to take accountability for what you did, but it's a whole nother level of freedom and a whole nother level of accountability when you take responsibility and accountability for what you caused.
I want you to unpack that a little bit more, because a lot of people, and I know we've had this conversation,
yeah,
a lot of people only take accountability for like the action, but they don't take accountability for the response to the action.
Absolutely. Or the what happened because of the action, right? Because what you did caused something, right?
Exactly.
So a lot of times people take accountability, and the first thing they say, well, man, I took accountability for it. I'm owning up to my stuff. One of the biggest lies that I told myself was, I can handle the consequences of my actions. That is the biggest selfish statement I've ever heard in my life. And I had to unpack that for myself, because you're speaking as if your actions only affect you. So you can take accountability for your actions, but can you take accountability for what you caused because of your actions? Like, one of the things I had to unpack was my decisions to not deal with my trauma and not deal with my adversity from childhood affected my marriage. And what I did in my marriage caused my wife to not be able to trust me anymore. So she left. Why I caused my kids to no longer have both parents under the roof. Now, do we have a great co-parenting relationship? Absolutely. Are we still friends and can laugh together and enjoy one another's time and company? Absolutely. But I caused that. Now, was I happy in the marriage? Hell no. There was other stuff that was going on too, but wouldn't you take accountability? It's not your job to point the finger and say, well, she didn't do her part either. Well, he didn't do his part either. That's not your job. Take accountability for your stuff. Take accountability for what you did. Take accountability for what you caused. Because without accountability, there's no way you can progress and move forward, because without taking proper accountability, you won't change the actions, the habits, and the routines that you have. And that would lead to you spinning a cycle, living the same life, because nothing's changed but your language, but your actions don't speak louder than your words at that time. And
Exactly.
that's why accountability for what you did and what you caused is so important to the whole face theory.
Mm, mm. So after someone has forgiven themselves as well as the other person, after they've taken accountability for both what they've done as well as what they've caused, you talked a little bit about counsel earlier. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So that's the next phase, seeking counsel. I'll speak for the African American culture. One of the things we're taught in our households as we are raised is to don't talk about the family business, right? Keep everything in house, right? I'm a church boy. I've been in church all my life. There's certain things that happen in church or behind the scenes or with people's situations and people's struggles where you don't tell anybody about it. You kind of keep it in house. So that breeds a routine of keeping things held inside, right? So we don't get to go to therapy. We don't seek counsel. As men, we have a problem with our ego with asking from help, right? So you have to seek counsel. There's no way in the world that you can deal with all of your problems in life by yourself. It
Mm,
just doesn't. It doesn't work like that. And
exactly.
God has placed people on this earth that went to school, got certifications, are goats at being able to counsel people.
Exactly.
They're placed here for a reason. Go get help. Seek counsel. Not only counsel, find a mentor. It's a one thing to be medically diagnosed or medically helped for a therapist or a counselor, but it's another thing to have a homeboy or a strong presence in your life, a strong mentor in life that can G check you in an unprofessional way, right?
Exactly.
You got the professionals that'll check you in the professional way, but you got your homeboys, homegirls, your buddy, your best friend that can call you on your BS and talk to you a different way. So you have to seek counsel, because seeking counsel, one, it makes you vulnerable, right? Vulnerability is one of the keys to success,
Mm,
because if you can't be vulnerable, then you're always hiding. And
mm,
sometimes we'll hide behind that identity and think that's the true us. And then when you're confronted with something, or you have a face adversity and true colors start to come out, you don't even know who the hell you really are, because you've been hiding behind this fake identity because you haven't been transparent or you haven't been open or vulnerable to anybody, right? You holding all this stuff in, you're eventually going to explode. It's going to happen. So you have to seek counsel. Get on somebody's couch and get some help. Talk to somebody. You have to do that. That's very, very important.
So is your book teaching these different things? Is it teaching this model? Or, talk to me a little bit about how somebody can go through this model. They may be on the chat right now, they may be watching the call. And if you guys have any questions for YP or for me, put them in the comment section. They're going to come up. We're both going to be able to see them, and then we'll be able to present those and get your questions answered. But I guess
Yeah.
the question is, how can someone get access to this model and be able to work through these different challenges in their life as well?
Yeah. So my book, Are You Crazy Enough to Believe, that will be coming out this year, will talk about the face theory. I'm also, it might be 3 books this year because you pushing me to make this into a book. So it could be a book that a manual journal that does this concept. But where I really access this content to people is this is what I take my life coaching clients through. They
Mm,
all go through the face theory, because I'm a firm believer, if it worked for me, it is going to work for somebody else. And
Exactly.
these are proven principles. If you look up the principles of forgiveness, the principles of accountability, the principle of mentorship, every wealthy person in the world always talks about having a mentor, right? And then the last phase is execution, right? Because you always have to evaluate. I'll say it's evaluation, not execution. Evaluation. You always have to evaluate what's working for you and what's not working for you. Then how do I attach myself more to what's working? How do I attach myself less to what's not working? So to answer your question, I take a lot of my all of my clients through that phase theory. And there's a couple other things we do, but that's mandatory. That's the first thing we get to. So that's the number one way to get into it. And then I am in my book that I'm writing now, I will go through the phase theory because it will talk about my entire 2021 and how I got through it. And that's how I got through it. I forgave myself, forgave the others. I took accountability for what I did and what I caused. I sought counsel and got a therapist, a life coach, and a pastor. I went through 3 times. And then I also started to evaluate what's working, and I started to detach myself from what's not working, and I started to glue myself to what was working. And I just think that phase, anybody at any level, if you go through that, you will find some freedom and you'll find some triumph after you go through that trauma and that adversity.
That's good. That's good. When you think about your overall journey, what has been the most powerful lesson that you've learned that you want to be able to share with people?
Stop holding stuff in. Stop holding stuff in. I use this scenario or this analogy all the time. Cal, if you went out of town today, you had something to do, you had to go out of town, and you gonna be gone for 4 days, right? And before you left, you was gonna cook, but somebody called and say, "Hey, man, we're gonna get something to eat on the way," and you left a pack of meat out on your counter, right?
Oh gosh.
In 4 days, when you come back, or 5 days when you come back, what has happened to that pack of meat?
It's gonna stink.
Okay, not only does it stink, it's spoiled, right? It's rotten.
Yeah,
Then the whole house is gonna stink, right?
oh, of course.
Right? The whole house is gonna stink. Well, imagine that in your soul. So you had something happen to you as a kid, you have something happen to you as a teenager or as an adult, and you don't address that issue, and you leave out of that you abandon that issue and you abandon that door, and it rots and it stinks and it's filthy and it's nasty and it's just decaying in your heart. When you walk back through that door, whether it was triggered or whether you have to face some adversity or whether you have to be honest and your secret comes out, whenever you have to walk through that door, you're going to speak from a place that stinks and has an odor and a stench, because the bitterness, the unforgiveness, the heartache, the pain, the sorrow, the depression that it's in that pack that you left out is going to speak through your voice. So that's why you see people erupt. You see people lash out. You see people yell and scream, because that when that thing is triggered, it's been sitting down so much, that foul sound, that foul voice, that foul bitterness is going to come out in that speech. So you're going to walk that door at some point in time. You're going to have to reopen that door at some point in time. So you can't hold things in. That was my issue. I held too much in. I thought it was too strong. You're not strong enough to handle your problems by yourself. I'm sorry, sweetheart. I'm sorry, homeboy. You're not that strong. And to think you are, you're putting this false sense of reality and this false sense of need on yourself. You're stressing yourself out too much. And you're going to end up people pleasing, because one of the real reasons you're holding this stuff in is because you don't want to make people uncomfortable with your true feelings. So that's something that you have to get used to. Be you. Holding stuff in is a direct reflection that you don't know who you really are yet.
That's good.
Because when you know who you are, you don't mind addressing issues because you're not speaking out of your feelings or your emotions. This is just who I am, and I'm speaking my truth, and need to address this. So for me, man, the biggest thing I want to convey to people is you don't have to hide. You don't have to hold that stuff in. Me holding in being molested at that age and what it did to me totally affected my marriage. I know it hands down. It's not a question. That was one of the major things that held my marriage, because that affected my self-esteem, affected my communication skills, it affected my ability to be vulnerable, it affected my ability to be honest and open, right? So that's the thing I would convey the most, man. You don't have to hold things in. Talk, get that stuff off your chest, get it out of your mind and out of your heart, because if you don't, it's going to become foul. And when you speak from that place that hurt you, or you speak from that place that's triggered, you're going to have a sound of bitterness, angry, and frustration, and it's not going to be conducive to where you want to go in life.
I love that, YP. And if anybody's listening right now, I hope you caught what he communicated and how you can take these lessons and these gems and these nuggets and transform your life. But it's starts being able to transform your mind, your spirit, and your soul, so that you can be able to transform anything on the exterior as well. So as we come to a close, we try to keep these, anybody watching for the first time, we try to keep these under 30 minutes so that these could be for a car ride, a quick lunch break, or something that you do in the gym really quickly that you can listen to. But YP, can you give them something that they need as a part of this season? It's January 12th. We're just entering into a new year. What is something that people, if you had the mic and you could speak to everyone in the world that listens to this specific live stream, what is your message to all of those people?
My message will be keep God first, dream big, work hard, execute, and repeat the process. Keeping God first keeps you centered and grounded, right? Whatever you believe, if it's not God, in the sense we all talk about, there's a higher power that you believe in. Mm-hmm. Your faith is important, whatever that is, right? To keep you grounded. And then dream big. Don't dream small, but dream big with a plan. Dream big with a process, dream big with some action steps, right? One of the things I did with my New Year's resolutions, right? I started thinking about it. I said, if you have a New Year's resolution without any action steps, it's just that. It's the resolution of your dream. It's the end of it. It's the end of your dream, because you have no action steps to how you're going to achieve it.
That's good.
We can write it down all day, but what's the action steps? What's the process? What's the plan, right? We want to fall in love with the promise, but we don't fall in love with the plan, right? So keep God first, dream big, right? Then work hard. Faith without works is dead, right? But work without faith is dead also. So work hard and have an expectation on it. And so you can have something that drives you in a driving force. So work hard at that dream, that big dream that you have, put the action steps and stuff behind, work hard, and then execute. We can work hard. We can dream big. We can keep God first. But if you can't close the deal when it's time for you to do what you do, it's all for none, right? You do the preparation, you do the trusting in God, you do all of the stuff. So when you get on that stage and that door opens, you're ready to go. One of the worst things you want to do is wait on God for a blessing and sit and wait and wait and wait and wait and wait and wait. And then the blessing comes to you and you are not strong enough to pick it up.
One thing that I always say is that you're going to learn more in the process rather than what you gain in the result.
Even better than that, you're absolutely right. Kobe Bryant said this, and I thought it was the dopest thing. He said, the process is the dream, because when you reach the dream, the only thing you talk about is the process.
Woo! That's good.
The process is the dream. The process is the dream, because once you reach the dream, the only thing you talk about is the process. Think about it. When you reach the dream, Kyle, what do people pay you to talk to them about? The process. How you got there. So the process is the dream, and then repeat. Like you accomplish one thing, take that same principles, take those same concepts and apply it to the next thing. And execution is extremely beneficial and a present for me this year in my life. Execution the big thing, and I think you heard me say this at Bible study. I was never a big executor. I was talented, but always remember the talent will beat the talent. I'm sorry, hard work will beat the talent when the talent don't work hard. So talent is not just enough. So you have to be able to execute and then repeat. So keep God first, dream big, work hard as hell, execute and finish the deal, and repeat the process.
I love that. I love this. All right. Any last words? Where can people find you, YP?
Man, I have a big following on TikTok right now. You can follow me at YPT_3. You can follow me on IG at YP_Thomas and at Facebook as YP Thomas. And you can find me on any of those platforms. And I have more stuff coming, and we'll be welcome to be able to connect at that time.
I love it. I love it. I love it. What's coming in the future for you, YP?
So what's coming in the fridge is my kids coming into the classroom right now, banging on the door. But I have the book 5 Phases of the Game of Life that will be completed this year. My book, Are You Crazy Enough to Believe? From tragedy, trauma to triumph. And then I have the Do Yourself a Favor mixtape that's coming out. It's going to be a mixtape of about 15 to 20 tracks of me just capturing some audio of me speaking to crowds and congregations and people, and me doing all kinds of different speaking and some personalized stuff there too. So all of that will be coming in 2023, man. I'm extremely excited about 2023.
I know that you're a man that wears so many hats, and I'm ready for your students to get back into that class and get some of your lessons.
Yes.
But I want to ask you one more question. For anybody who's on the fence about writing a book and sharing their story and putting their experiences inside a book so that they can be able to share those with the world, what's your quick message to them as we close?
Tell your story. Tell your story. And that's not always an autobiography or end all tell all. That's not the beginning to the end. What's something that happened in your life that truly changed and sparked effective change in your life? What was that event? Talk about your story, because I'm a speaker first, right? I'm an author, probably like 5th or 6th. I'm a speaker first. That turns into so much content or so much material that you can speak to people.
I think we lost YP, and as he's coming on, what he's trying to tell you right now is understand the importance of your story. Okay, understand the importance of your story. YP is coming back.
Sorry, my bad. But yes, tell your story. Be able to be, because nobody can take away for what you experienced. Okay. I'm in school. I got announcements coming and everything, but nobody can take away your experience and your story, and you can write it from a true place. You won't be writing about what you think and what you heard. You'll be writing about what you know and what you experience, and that connects to people, and people connect to it. So tell your story. Don't hide anymore. Tell your story. Somebody's breakthrough is on the other side of your obedience of telling your story. So tell your story.
I love that. I love that so much, so much. YP, thank you so much for
coming, man.
Blessing us with your presence, shedding
Absolutely.
some time in your busy day as an educator, continuing to evolve and then empower our youth on a daily basis.
Absolutely.
Wow. Your story needs to be heard. If you didn't get anything from YP's message, there's a few bullets that I want you to get. Keep God first. Whatever it is that you believe in, keep God first. I want you to dream bigger this year. I want you to go off and dream bigger this year. And then once you have the dream, I want you to reverse engineer the specific steps that are necessary for you to accomplish that dream.
Absolutely.
It's going to require you to work hard. And then I need you to execute. Once you have the steps, once you're willing to work hard, once you have the calendar and the commitment and that contract, I need you to fulfill the contract and go out there and deliver at a higher level. Okay.
There you go.
And then Once you have that done, and once you have a system in place, I need you to repeat it. But before any of that, when you meet obstacles, I need you to forgive. I need you to forgive the person. I need you to forgive yourself. I need you to hold yourself accountable for the things that you've done, as well as the things that you've caused. I need you to go to counsel. I need you to go get someone that can check you and that can help you grow, whether that's a mentor, a guide, somebody that can direct you to a better path, because oftentimes we have not achieved the things that we're trying to go after, and you need somebody that's already been through it and paved the way for you. And then once you have that, you're going to be set up for greatness. You're going to be
absolutely.
Once you understand that there, in anything that we're doing, in anything that we're trying to become, there's going to be adversity. There's going to be barriers. There's going to be obstacles. There's going to be hurdles. And as you go through this year, this season, or whenever it is that you're watching this specific live stream,
yes,
understand that you can do it as long as you're faithful, as long as you understand the power of your purpose, and as long as you stay productive while understanding the priorities that you have in front of you. My name is Kyle King. We're here with YP Thomas. This is the Writers Game Podcast, and we'll see you guys next episode.